The Indiana Fever are more dangerous without Caitlin Clark.
I want to say this. I think Indiana is even more dangerous when Caitlin Clark doesn't play.
Indiana Fever being a more dangerous team with Carolyn Peck.
Say the Indiana Felines are better without Caitlin Clark?
Without Caitlin Clark, this team is much better.
They finally said it openly on national television. The Indiana Fever might actually be more dangerous when Caitlin Clark isn't on the floor.
Indiana is even more dangerous when Caitlin Clark doesn't play.
Why ESPN continues to butcher the cash cow. How in the hell are they possibly better without her? How would the WNBA be better off without her? I don't understand.
That remark came directly from Carolyn Peck on ESPN, and it sparked a backlash that just won't fade.
Carolyn Peck. What do we have to say about the Indiana Fever being a more dangerous team without Caitlin Clark?
The league's biggest star, a rookie driving record viewership, sold-out arenas, and soaring jersey sales, is now facing criticism from the very network benefiting from her success.
ESPN is all about agenda, and I'm going to tell you why. It's the very same network that I have sat back, listened to them ramrod how great Angel Reese is down people's throats.
ESPN just found themselves in a heap of trouble after Karen Peck backtracks what she said about Caitlin Clark.
It's not just that ESPN is floating the idea that the Indiana Fever are better without Caitlin Clark. They're actively reinforcing it, doubling down, and giving national exposure to what many fans see as a completely false narrative. And now, there's increasing speculation that this goes beyond simply poor analysis.
The Dump finally has a star that people want to watch. They finally have someone capable of generating interest. Broadcast rights for the WNBA are extremely cheap. ESPN is making millions of dollars off of this league right now. And what do they continue to do?
Some are now suggesting it's a coordinated effort to push Caitlin Clark out of the spotlight, or even out of the league altogether.
Crazy to me, once again, go back to my theory. I think that Stephanie White is trying to take the ball out of Caitlin Clark's hands, bro.
If ESPN keeps pushing this tone and the Indiana Fever continue leaning into it, then this goes beyond just basketball. It starts to look like something bigger, more about influence and control. It didn't take long for the clip to explode online. Carolyn Peck, a former coach and national champion, went on air and openly said what many hadn't dared to, that the Indiana Fever seemed more dangerous without Caitlin Clark on the court.
I did not say Caitlin Clark is not valuable. She's a great player for those who only see Caitlin.
The Indiana Fever are more dangerous without Caitlin Clark. That is a Carolyn Peck quote.
Just like that, the entire narrative flipped. This wasn't just another bold opinion. It came across as a deliberate message delivered on the biggest sports platform in the world, ESPN, and it landed with impact. Because underneath those words is a fast-growing implication that Caitlin Clark is somehow the issue.
What'd she say? I'm not saying Caitlin is invaluable, but for those who only see Caitlin, for her to just throw that in there and kind of like only see Caitlin, basically call out Caitlin Clark fans, not right, bro. As an ESPN reporter.
To be clear, Caitlin Clark is widely credited with bringing unprecedented mainstream attention to the WNBA, driving record viewership and major increases in media coverage and fan engagement.
The Indiana Fever need Caitlin Clark to win games. The Indiana Fever suck. They're nothing without Caitlin. And the Caitlin Clark fans would rather see the Indiana Fever lose without Caitlin because it proves that Caitlin is good.
The Indiana Fever have shifted from a lower-tier franchise to a weekly national television draw. Games featuring Caitlin Clark are breaking viewership records. Ticket demand has surged, and merchandise bearing her name is selling rapidly.
Clark has appeared in 9 games this season and is averaging 18.2 across 33 minutes per game.
She's the biggest draw by far this league has ever had. She has put this league on the national map in ways it's never been.
Now, ESPN is being framed as implying that the Indiana Fever, the same team boosted in visibility by Caitlin Clark, could actually function better without her. The transcript then shifts into a strong interpretation, describing this not as simple analysis or commentary, but as something more coordinated or agenda-driven.
Ken Swift, all over it, man. All over it. We have Carolyn Peck back at it. once again, with the nonsense, trying to spread the narrative that now the Indiana Fever don't even need Caitlin Clark.
The narrative is describing how small shifts in language, like offensive rhythm without Caitlin, or they look freer in her absence, can frame perception of Caitlin Clark in a negative way. It argues that these kinds of phrases, even when presented as basketball analysis, can influence casual viewers by implying she slows the team down, hasn't adapted well, or doesn't fully belong at that level.
The Indiana Fever, with and without Caitlin Clark. First 4 games of the season, net rating 11.9. Without Caitlin Clark, net rating drops to 2.6. Ooh.
The passage is arguing that when a narrative like this comes from ESPN, it spreads quickly and carries much more weight than social media discussion alone. It suggests that this is where the real impact happens, because it's not just online opinions shaping perception anymore, but a major broadcast network influencing how the WNBA and players like Caitlin Clark are publicly viewed.
It's because they got an agenda. Let's just be real. It's a woke network and they hate straight white women. It's out. I said it out loud.
The passage argues that the situation is being amplified not only by media coverage from ESPN, but also by silence from within the Indiana Fever itself. It claims the organization, including coach Stephanie White, is not actively countering the narrative or correcting public perception. Instead, it suggests the team is gradually adjusting its on-court structure, reducing how much the offense runs through Caitlin Clark, limiting design plays for her, and sharing ball handling responsibilities more evenly.
Stephanie White currently works for ESPN part-time when she's not coaching the Indiana Fever basketball team.
The passage is claiming that commentary from ESPN is being reflected in how the Indiana Fever operates on the court. It suggests that the result of this, as framed in the transcript, is a perceived contradiction. The visibility and success driven by Caitlin Clark are acknowledged, while the narrative implies she is being used less centrally in the team system.
They wouldn't have even came close to beating the Liberty without Caitlin Clark. They wouldn't even have came close to beating the Dream without Caitlin Clark. Did you see what happened? Did you not see what happened earlier?
The passage argues that what's happening is no longer being framed as normal basketball discussion. It claims the narrative has shifted into something more deliberate, suggesting media manipulation with Caitlin Clark positioned at the center of it. It also suggests the concern is about alignment between different levels of influence, from media coverage at ESPN to decisions and messaging within the Indiana Fever, implying a coordinated message rather than separate opinions.
They continue diminishing the only player that people care about. Broadcast rights for the WNBA are extremely cheap. ESPN is making millions of dollars off of this league right now. And what do they continue to do?
The passage describes a sequence of perceived developments. It begins with commentary from ESPN that allegedly questioned whether Caitlin Clark was being overhyped. It then claims the narrative evolved into suggestions that the Indiana Fever perform better or play more freely without her, followed by fan observations that she has been less involved in late-game situations, sometimes being benched or used more off-ball in key moments. The passage contrasts this with her college reputation as a high-volume scorer and high-profile star, implying a shift toward a more system-oriented role within the team.
You know, it's a different group. While system might still be very similar, it's a different group.
Then there were the games where Caitlin Clark was out due to injury. According to the passage, ESPN highlighted the Indiana Fever's occasional strong performances during those stretches, framing them as notable success without her on the court.
The team received tough news Friday afternoon. Star guard Caitlin Clark was ruled out again for Saturday with a lingering groin injury.
Is that I have to wonder, did this team bring her back too soon from the quad injury that then turned into this?
It claims that when ESPN and the Indiana Fever both emphasize narratives suggesting the team is better without Caitlin Clark, it distorts public perception and ignores context like opponents, game situations, and her overall impact. The passage argues that despite criticism and reduced roles at times, there's no real evidence the team improves without her, framing the situation as a media-driven narrative rather than basketball reality, and concludes that her presence remains central to the league's success and growth.